Color me interested, color me interested, color me excited to see you here. Color me curious, not so serious. Color me entertained. Who are we meeting today? What do they have to say? Color me interested, we've got a guest coming your way. Hey.
This is Color Me Interested, and this is candidate for City Commission, Mike Golden. Mike, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good to have you on. I'm always interested in getting people the word out there about new candidates. So I want to start from the beginning, from a wee lad to marriage, kids, whatever. you want to tell about? Just give me a less than a minute detail of your life and how you got here.
I was born in Sioux City, Iowa. Both of my parents were professional musicians, and they moved us out to the West Coast when I was very, very young, about 3 or 4 years old. Dad opened up music stores in between San Diego to Northern California, and we ended up in Redding, California at the end. From there, I joined the military. I spent some time in the military. I enjoyed my time in the military immensely. I am an honorably discharged veteran. I have had the opportunity of having some amazing jobs, from the Washington State Department of Corrections to the United States Federal Bureau of Prisons. I worked at a golf course for a bit, and I absolutely loved my last job, which was working for North Valley Distributing out of Redding, California. It was a fantastic place to be. I met the love of my life at the Madigan NCO Club at Fort Lewis, Washington. I had just gotten home from my first deployment, and it was her birthday, and we just celebrated 37 years. We've got 3 kids, 3 grandkids. We got sick of the West Coast, and at the very beginning of COVID, they put a lot of lockdowns and a lot of restrictions on us. And so we threw the proverbial dart, and it landed in Montgomery County. And we flew out that Friday. We looked at, must have been 20 or so houses all around in and around Montgomery County, primarily in Independence, but we were pretty dismayed with what we saw until our realtor asked us if we knew anything about Coffeyville. And I said, no, I really haven't heard of it. And he said, it's like 20 minutes down the road. So we got into the car, we came to Coffeyville, and we fell in love with this community before we even saw the house. We stopped at a local antique store, and the staff there were wonderful. My wife loves antiques, and the rest is history. Here we are at Coffeyville.
Okay. So you fell in love with Coffeyville, you moved here,
Yes.
and did you find some stuff? Because obviously you have to have a reason to run. What made you want to run?
It's kind of twofold. My wife doesn't allow me to complain unless I'm willing to be part of a solution.
Okay.
You know,
I get that.
if I'm complaining, she
way,
said,
yeah.
what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And we were walking over to a graduation to see 2 lovely young ladies graduate last year. Our house is just right by the school. And right in front of my wife and I, maybe 30 or 40 feet, was a couple that I hope to be like someday. They were maybe 25 years older than I am. And the lady, the wife, she had a walker type thing, and she couldn't get over the curb there. And I was looking at the curb, and usually a curb has the little cutouts of the dips in them to where either strollers or bicycles or people in wheelchairs or disabilities can, and there's nothing there. And I thought, well, why isn't that there? And this lady just about tripped. She about fell. Jude and I picked up our pace to try to maybe brace her fall in case she fell. And she's like, well, looks at me and says, what are you going to do about it? And I says, well, there's only one thing I can do, and that's try to be a part of that change, which is on the Coffeyville City Commission. And that started this whole ordeal.
So there's a lot of stuff to do in Coffeyville. Are you in any clubs,
Initially, when I came to Coffeyville, I was very involved with the Dalton Defender Museum. I volunteered there. My wife is a volunteer at the local food bank here currently. I am a life member of the VFW. I don't particularly go to this VFW just because of the cigarette smoke, and I don't care for the secondhand cigarette smoke. But the VFW is a strong organization that is a veteran service organization, and I'd like to see that prosper.
Okay. You talk about Coffeyville history. There's a lot of it. And of course, you've worked with this. I think there's much more than people realize. People think Dalton Ray, but people don't realize Reb Russell.
The cowboy boot was invented.
Yeah. That too. What's your favorite part about Coffeyville history?
Oh goodness! If I'm being honest, I'm a lifetime Seattle Seahawks Mariners fan, and one of the greatest Seahawks to ever play the game early on. He's a Coffeyville native. I just about crashed my moving truck pulling into town. I looked up and there's Terry Beeson Insurance right there. And oh my goodness, that's Terry Beeson from the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
So I've had the luxury of meeting Terry a few times, and he's actually signed a helmet for me and a football card. So I love sports. I love it. That's being so close to the Red Ravens and CCC. We love going to just about any activity we can.
Those games are fun when you can.
You bet.
So a lot of stuff that goes on with city commission. Have you worked in any type of leadership positions that would help you?
I didn't run. I apologize. I was the commander of the VFW in California. It was a large VFW. We had a lot of active members, and I was the commander for 3 years. In that 3 years, we went through two very catastrophic events. One was a fire that took about a third of our building completely out of commission, and in coordinating with all the different vendors and contractors in order to get it back up to code, that was challenging. I had a team underneath me that was just phenomenal. I basically just had to sign a few checks and direct a few people and open a few doors. And we got that fire done. We were only out of business for 24 hours. We were still in construction during that time, but we kept our doors open to serve our veteran community. And then right at the grand opening, when we got everything done, there was a sewer brown water flood on the city's end. That brown water flood, so we had to start over again, and we had to close down for a little bit more than 24 hours for that. But it wasn't too long. We got it handled and done and up and running. So I think that the logistic part of things, I succeed and if I've got the right staff or the right people or the right components in place, I don't see why anything is impossible.
So let's say you have an issue come up with Coffeyville. Let's say there's some things going on that you want done. Let's say Target wants to come to Coffeyville. I know it will probably never happen. But let's say they want to come.
Okay.
And they want to come to Coffeyville, and they want, of course, some incentives and stuff. Do you welcome big box stores?
If I'm being completely honest, I live far enough away from the big box stores to where if I really wanted to go to Target or to Home Depot or Lowe's, and they're wonderful companies, they're only 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
I prefer to shop local. I want my money that I earn locally to stay local with the farmers, with the ranchers, with the small businesses. Okay. I support anything local I can, from the Cub Scouts and the Girl Scout. Oh, the Girl Scout cookies. Oh my
they're gonna get me soon too.
Yeah, it's about that season.
Yeah,
but
those little Samoa cookies are good. Lord, there's too many. But they're my dealer. Yeah.
But I really like to support local, so I'd rather spend the fuel if I needed something specific. But I would rather spend maybe $1 or $2 more here locally and let our community thrive on my money.
So there are some other issues I want to ask about. How you feel about the train situation? I know I've talked to tracks can't be fixed, but a lot of blocking. Do you think we should maybe sit down and talk with railroad people?
That is a discussion that needs to be had. What the solution is, I have no idea. That is something I've never been a part of anything to do with railroad trains, easements, right away, who owns what. So I would have to research, and I would have to defer to those that are on the commission that have dealt with that, with the railroad officials. But I'm open to whatever is going to benefit the community, so they don't sit downtown for 20 minutes and do a U-turn, and they can't get through the other way, and it's just kind of in a repetitive loop. You bet. And I've run into that a few times, and it is distracting, and it, especially if you have a doctor's appointment, you got to be there on a specific day. You know how I love punctuality.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some room for improvement. How that is, I would have to look into it and defer to those that are the experts. Yeah.
I agree with that. Also, there's a lot of we got a housing issue. I think they're working on it. I believe I heard something about maybe tiny houses, or I'm not all sure what I heard. But is that something? I believe in what's called trickle up housing, where you get housing for, let's say, a smaller house for a grandma and grandpa who wants to do, and they leave that house, and then you build houses that are easy for them to live in, and then that house becomes available, and then it goes trickles up instead of down.
That makes a lot of sense. As far as affordable housing, you have to remember, I come from the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm one of my sons who still lives on the West Coast is paying almost $4,000 a month for rent. for rent.
Okay.
So when we came here, we had the reverse of sticker shock. I haven't seen, and I still have that in my head a little bit, the West Coast prices. It's been ingrained in me for so long, and we've been here 5 years now. I don't know what the real answer for affordable housing is, but everything seems affordable to me here for the cost of living adjustment. Sure, there's higher end homes, and there's homes that maybe some of the elderly who don't do stairs and navigate the up and down or need all the room. I understand that, but I also understand protection of personal and private property. So it would be up to that homeowner to make that decision on their behalf.
Yeah.
I would not want to be, as a city official, to say who or what should live in what type of a home. That's up to the person.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's new houses everywhere that's starting to be built, and this one's on the boulevard over there. By the church, like Gibson Avenue has some new houses and stuff, but those are more expensive. So a part of that also housing is also rent's high a lot everywhere. Would you ever consider talking to landlords and figuring out why the prices are so high? I realize turnarounds around.
Well, you know, with the refinery here and turnaround, landlords can pretty much name their price during specific times of the year.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that there's some houses here in town that are specifically designed just for turnaround rentals.
Yeah.
As far as families, long-term rentals, that's nothing I haven't rented in many years. It's been a couple of decades since I've rented a home. So I'm not really in touch with the rents.
Yeah.
As far as, again, any type of mandate or anything to a landlord with their personal property and putting a cap or setting up some sort of a limitation, that's a gray area that I'm not necessarily interested in addressing. I believe that the property owner has the right to set the standard, and if somebody wants their home for that price, great. If not, it sits there vacant and they end up paying the bank, so they'll have to come down.
Yeah, it's kind of market value too. If people don't buy it, then people don't rent from them, then people have to maybe figure out themselves. So besides curb, what other glaring problems do you think that needs addressed?
I don't see a lot of activities for our youth. Productive activities.
Yeah.
And I've got some ideas, and I submitted a few to the chamber, and it really seemed like some of them were interesting. So they might be looking into some of that, which I'm all for. Anything we can do to get our youth active in our community on the volunteer level, incentivized, maybe with college credit or any of the Chamber of Commerce could offer.
So yeah, I get that. So you've always been going to meetings.
Yes.
Stuff. How do you feel about the commissioners now that you're going to be serving with? Have you talked to them much?
Much, I wouldn't say. I've had the pleasure of meeting the existing serving commissioners. I've had the pleasure of speaking very lightly on some topics, and it's not a guarantee I'm going to even be in that seat. You know, this is an election, and it's up to the people on who they think would best serve them. I'm not there for any reason, even for that curb. That's my own reason. Yeah. So me as the taxpayer wants to see that, but if the people that put me in that office don't want that, then I'm not going to push that. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there to be the voice of the homeowner, the person who's paying property tax, the person who's paying sales tax, the person who's living possibly paycheck to paycheck or just with a couple dollars left over at the end of the month. I can relate with that. Yeah. I apologize. If you do get the position, you'll be working a lot with Ben. I'm going to say our city manager.
Yeah. Have you dealt with him? Have you talked to him?
Ben and I have sat down a few times, and Ben has got a lot of ideas. He's a young man. He's got a ton of energy and a lot of respect for the people of Coffeyville. And I could see a really good partnership and seeing him pushing forward some amazing things for this. I would like to see this city fall back in love with it the way my wife and I have fallen in love with it. You know, I've been told before we moved here that this was a bustling town. There was several thousand more people, tons of businesses, a lot of commerce, and it's gone away. Some due to the flood, and some due to people that were thinking the grass was always greener. Another thing is crime. You know, crime is a big thing, and I see online, you know, there's a lot of people on Facebook, and they like to add in their 2 cents worth and bless their hearts. What I haven't experienced since coming to Coffeyville is I haven't parked at a grocery store and had to navigate through piles of human poop or used drug needles or have people grab me asking me for money aggressively to where I'm either in fear of or in a defensive mode. People wave at me. They seem genuinely happy to see me some days. The crime here is not the major crime that I've seen in big cities. It's not the murders, the armed robberies, the home invasions. And I want to keep it that way. But what crime we do have is destructive for the business owners. You know, we've got businesses that are getting their copper piping ripped out of their AC units or their plumbing, and it's up to them to have to replace it. You know, with insurance premiums, I'm sure you know that's a difficult place to navigate. So we were talking earlier, what were some of the things? I would love to see a lot of the focus stay on downtown, but I would like to see that focus exercise all the way down to the edge of town. You know, there's so many businesses on 8th Street that are almost overlooked, it seems like, you know, and on 11th Street. And I see a lot of the, and they're successful. I mean, there's a couple businesses, you know who I'm talking about. They're very successful and they're constantly upgrading and they're doing wonderful things, yet they seem to almost be exclusively targeted by a lot of these property crimes that ends up costing the business owner their hard-earned money, pardon me. And I'd like to continue the progress on downtown, but I'd like to see it expand throughout the entire city.
So I think part of crime around here is drugs and alcohol, and I really wish we could find a way to get the city to find a way to get a rehabilitation center or something.
You're speaking my language.
If I had the ability, that old nursing home, I would love to turn into one.
You know, I've heard some talk around town that there might be something in the works on a recovery house. I personally live a recovering lifestyle. I've been sober over 19 years now, and I have never been happier. I'm living the life today that I prayed for on my worst day drinking. You know, the praying that God, just get me out of this, and I promise I'll never do it again type stuff. And I dreamed of the picket fence and the family and the friends and the relationship with God and a church. And what we have in this town is very special. It's incredibly special, and I love it.
I think a rehabilitation center would help.
I would love to see that.
Immensely somehow, just to get them off the street, get them a place they know they care.
A lot of people consider people that are active in their addiction or their alcoholism as expendable. I've seen too many successes, Marcus. I've seen too many people come from the gutter, come from having needles in their arms, come from drinking every morning just to stop the shakes, to becoming successful, productive, amazing members of our society. And I encourage that on anybody that wants to try a different lifestyle, to just go for it.
Also the homelessness. Of course, there's getting ready to be, there's a thing down on Longfellow that's getting ready to open up. And it's already, I don't know if the one, the old school over on the east side is open all the time or not, but that's something that haunts us too. My wife ran into last weekend a homeless man that was camped out underneath the shelter, but they're downtown. It kind of broke her heart. So I really hope we can keep on moving in the right direction with homeless and not see them as a stain, but as actual people.
Well, of course, there's somebody's son or daughter, somebody's dad or mom, somebody's brother, sister, you know, they all, but you have to understand, Marcus, a lot of people, they choose that on purpose. They choose to not have a life of responsibility, and I understand that. I don't necessarily accept it, but I do understand it's a person's choice. We do live in the greatest country in the world. With the homelessness that I see here, as opposed to, again, on the West Coast, I don't see tent cities here. I don't see miles and miles and miles of tents and garbage stacked and the need to bring in bulldozers and dump trucks. I'm sure there are squatters in abandoned homes. I'm certain that there's people that are under bridges and things like that. And I don't have an answer for them. I know that most of us are barely a paycheck or two away from joining them. That's what I'm, you know, so
that's what I say to people all the time.
I feel for them. Again, this kind of goes towards the recovery part of me. Until I was ready to change, I wasn't going to. So until somebody wants something different in their life,
that's true.
You know, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
I agree with that. So it's a twofold thing for me there. I say the great thing about the city is its citizens, and also sometimes the worst thing is the citizens, where they're so negative. When there was a Facebook post a while ago about a nice older house in Coffeyville, and all the comment section was, "Don't move here; it's so crime ridden, and you won't want to move here and stuff." How do you feel about that? What do you think needs to change in people's minds to stop saying that?
Get offline and come to the commission meetings.
Yeah.
Get offline and volunteer in the community. Quit being a keyboard ninja.
Yeah.
You know, it's so easy to either not comment anything and just be decent, just be a nice person, be cordial. It takes very little effort to be a nice person. It takes more effort to be a jerk.
Yeah.
I've been both, and I'll probably be both again someday. If people would take the time and effort that they put into bashing online, if they would take the time and the effort and put that to something productive, what do you think our community could be like?
Yeah, I think
It'd
we
be
have
incredible.
a lot of access and stuff.
The folks that are complaining about the dirtiness, I don't see them out there cleaning up graffiti when the city does their, hey, let's come volunteer and clean this up. You know, and that's a wonderful program that's going on with the city. You know, they take a half a day off and they go and they have a set area that they do some area beautification. I love that. You know, that's what I want to see my tax dollars go towards.
Yeah, I really do agree. We have a great city. We got access. We got parks that are starting to spark up. We got this walking trail.
That trail is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I've walked it one time and need to do it more once it actually gets into fall
We
weather.
need to go out to the park and play some disc golf.
Yes.
It's getting to be our weather.
Yes, they have that. It's nice. It's serene down there.
Yeah, I love
It's
it.
expansive. I don't think I've ever made it past 9 holes myself. But
Oh, we played 18, I think, one time.
have we? Yeah.
I think so.
But you know, it's nice access that people really forget about. I think that we need to find a way to show people we have stuff. It's easy for us to have signs and stuff about it, but I think, and they have this little thing. We're getting ready to have pickleball courts.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever played.
No, but I'm willing to try.
I played a little bit. It's not bad.
Okay.
It's fun, but they're getting ready to build it out. I guess they have separate courts, and that was something that was great, that we use grants too.
Perfect.
And people complain a lot about that.
Well, they don't understand the difference between grants and tax money.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say, well, you're wasting all this money on parks, but not on streets. And so, well, streets and parks are different. They have to
Completely
sell
separate.
tax.
Sure.
And-
Yeah,
and
when you
stuff,
have
so-
somebody that's a talented grant writer, we can get the beautiful things, like
Yeah.
the parks and the recreation types things. I'm sure that there's some sort of a grant we can get for the Americans with Disability Act to get that curb fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm certain there's something out there. And
There's routes to schools.
Yes.
Which I'm surprised. We had set routes to school, but I don't know why they didn't hit down there.
Something to look into for both
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah. Like I said, great community, great fun, and I'm glad you're running. There's only not very many of you running, but what makes you stand out the most? What do you think? Why vote for you?
I don't have an agenda aside from that curb. I'm not a native. I'm not a local here. You know, so everything I'm seeing through fresh eyes, and I've seen some of the big city things that worked, and I'd love to see some of those things come here at some point. And I've seen some of the things that failed, and if those ever did come up as options, I could maybe share my experience from that. But I'm not tied to any one business, any one company, or a family name per se. You know, I am just a citizen. I'm just the guy next door. I live on the same block as other people do that just want to see our neighborhood safe for our kids and grandkids. We just want to be better. And people complain, but they don't show to the meetings. They complain and they don't run for office. Only 4 people are on the ballot for 3 positions. It blows me away.
I was kind of surprised. Well, actually, no, I'm not surprised. But, you know, I thought about it, but I was at a point where I had family members involved in the community. I didn't want to get involved.
Right.
And stuff. And I've had my turn, so I like to give people a chance.
You were on the commission, in fact, at one point.
Yeah. But I've had my chance. I was on it for 4 years, and I want other people to have a chance to do it. It is a hard position. Sometimes, you know, one thing I want to ask you to do is accessibility if you get on.
Sure.
Because when I was on, we had a city manager who it was called Coffee with Kindle, and he would go to different restaurants and invite citizens to come sit down and stuff. Because I feel a lot of times people feel like those commissioners are on their own pedestal. Unapproachable, and they don't want to go talk to them. But if you had a monthly meeting, love it, and just pass it around and stuff, because that's big.
And if the worst thing could happen is we help a local business sell a few cups of coffee.
Yeah, Yeah,
I'm
be
all
a
for it.
Utopia downtown. What used to be that, but it ran out of business. But there's plenty of places
Sure.
that would
And
be,
we could rotate it, spread
Yeah,
it around a
rotate
little
it,
bit.
exactly.
And, I would imagine the first few would only be 1 or 2 people, but
Yeah.
if somebody sees some
it
results.
grows. I don't ever expect a lot of people, but
But if one person is helped one time, then
yeah,
the 4 years was worth every moment.
it really does help. There's lots of hard decisions you have to make. I had to make a few. I have people calling me left and right on certain issues, and you're going to be hit with that of phone calls and stuff. Are you ready for that?
I am. I've actually got a dedicated line just for that, so that I can put my dedicated line, and if I don't answer, and I would probably keep it a business hours unless there was a city emergency.
Yeah.
But if it was something to do that was a small, something small on the city side of things, but big to the person involved, we could address that during business hours. Obviously, if there's an emergency, I'm accessible 24/7.
Okay. Well, I think we've spent a lot of time talking. Any final words you want to say to the voters?
Thank you for considering me. I know I'm an outsider. I know I'm from the West Coast, and I promise not to California or Kansas.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. If you want to do it again, or if anybody out there sees this video and wants to do a candidate thing, or if they see it and they're a special group or anything, I am open to start doing this podcast more to people and get the word out about your organization or whatever. Anybody who wants to, you're more than welcome to. So thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Happy to help.
And hope you do good during the election. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.